Lisa Weismann is an anchor and reporter here at Live 5 News and has been for the past 7 years. Every weeknight, she anchors the evening news with Raphael James. I talk one-on-one with Lisa for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lisa Weismann, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I think the last time was, what did we say, 7 years?
20,
you look back?
Yeah, 2012.
Well, you look the same, my friend.
Me? I don't run as much as I used to.
I don't either.
Yeah. Do you still live downtown? No, you probably moved.
No. Yeah, I guess last time we talked, I lived downtown. No, I lived downtown and then went over to Mount Pleasant, yes. And now actually West Ashley.
Oh, cool.
So I'm so close to work. I love that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes
I love
sense.
Close to work.
Obviously, you talk about work. You've been here for 7 years as the news anchor here at Channel 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're one of the main anchors here. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when I interviewed you for Quintin's Close-Ups, you were the weekend anchor.
Uh-huh.
What got you from being a weekend anchor to now one of the main anchors?
Oh, boy. Let's get my boss in here. No, I think that it was, let's see, I was doing weekend anchoring and reporting, right. Which, by the way, like I love. I think that particular gig, splitting your time like that, getting to anchor for a couple of days and reporting for a few days too, that was the best shift. I love doing that. But I think I was doing that for about a year. Then I started doing the 10 o'clock
right.
news that we had here on Fox. And then shortly thereafter, just moved into the 11 o'clock position. And we also got an additional newscast. We had the 7:30 newscast then too. So just filled that role, I think a year after I got here.
Right.
Yeah, but I love doing that too. But anytime I get a chance to go out in the field, that's kind of what I really love to do, is being able to go home at the end of the day and having, a minute and a half long story that aired. There's really no sense of satisfaction like that. Like that.
You talk about obviously being at work. You've been here for 7 years. Who is Lisa Weismann as a journalist?
Who is she as a journalist? She tries to be as thoughtful as she can. She loves following up on stories too. She tries to be pretty organized. In a town like this, you really have to be, to be able to follow up appropriately on stories. But trying to give a voice to people who otherwise might not be able to get their opinions and their issues out there and in front of the people who matter, and the lawmakers who are able to really make a difference. That's who she is as a reporter and an anchor too.
Anchor too. Obviously, you've anchored a lot of major news events here in Charleston.
Yeah.
What's that one that still is in your heart and mind today?
That's a great question. I was actually overseas when the shooting at Mother Emanuel happened. I remember waking up that morning in Athens, Greece, and seeing the text alert, and obviously it's right next to the anniversary of the Charleston Nine.
Right.
So, being sleepy-eyed, bleary-eyed, I looked at it and thought that maybe it was somehow referencing the Charleston Nine. That was my first thought, and so I actually was not here. I came back a couple of days after, and the continuous coverage there of all the funerals that will obviously stick with me in a professional setting, but just through the rest of my life too, and covering the trial thereafter,
right.
And meeting a lot of those families.
Sure.
Some of them I still regularly talk with today. They become kind of intertwined in your just who you are as a human being. So I definitely have to say that, and I'm sure a lot of other people would say the same too here in this market. Yeah.
I know your news philosophy basically has it, just like this. Being entrusted with the public's confidence is an immense undertaking.
Oh my gosh.
Journalists must always remain thoughtful and responsible, as you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. After what has happened in this town, Walter Scott, Mother Emanuel, what would you add to that news philosophy?
What would I add to that news? This is pulling up from my bio, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that maybe what I said to you before about just giving a voice to the people who might not otherwise get their issues in front of people who are able to make a change for them. I'd probably add something along those lines. We'll have to come up with a line together, a sentence to add. Yeah, probably something like that.
Well, something like that. Obviously, during that particular time, you had a lot of people in this town, and particularly at this television station, covering news stories, including Bill and Debbie. Debbie Charen has actually retired from this television station after almost 45 years on the air.
Quintin.
Where are you emotionally with that?
Oh, yeah, it's been a couple of months since Debbie left us. That was, a huge big deal. You still feel the void in the newsroom. Her seat's been filled. Carter Coyle sits in her seat now, but no, it definitely is a part of the newsroom that you definitely feel that is missing. You could always go to her whenever you had just maybe a little bit of help and that you needed to be fleshed out on a story. Had an amazing journalism background, amazing contacts here in the community. I remember her last day. She wasn't standing by idly cutting up the cake. Like, she was helping her last deed here in the Live 5 newsroom. She was helping Kevin Bilodeau, our sports director, come up with story ideas for something that he was working on, getting a couple of leads for that. So that just really envelops Debbie, just who she was as a person. Well, as a journalist, but as a person, she was incredibly thoughtful. My folks, my parents, they don't live here; they're up north. So I spent many a holiday with her, and Easter in particular. That was always fun with her and her family. She made sure that I was taken care of.
Yeah, we love the family, Sarah, and all those folks there.
Yes.
How do you follow her as a journalist?
Follow Debbie as a journalist. Well, I don't think Debbie could ever be replicated. Here in the Live 5 newsroom, I can try to take some of her qualities and traits and use them, in my day-to-day work, which I try to do, of course, anyway. But man, those are some big shoes to fill. I can never, even attempt to emulate her, but just continue to be a thoughtful journalist. I think that's the best way in which I can honor Debbie.
Sure, absolutely. Obviously, Channel 5 has been on the air since 1953, and it's many, many years later now. Why do people trust you all?
Why do people trust us here at Channel 5? I think most recently, like I'm working on a story right now about the 30th anniversary of Hurricane Hugo, and talking to several people who stayed behind. That's the angle that I'm working on, the people who stayed behind. And just so many of them were watching us and tuning in on the radio too. And I think like once you become entrenched in a community, you just keep having those building blocks. Like most recently, other big news in 2015, what a huge year here in Charleston for news. But I think that if you continually just prove your worth as a collectively as journalists, I think people really recognize that, and also being involved in the community too. You're putting your money where your mouth is.
How do you prove your worth?
Day to day, I think just by working on stories to improve the Charleston community, also becoming a responsible citizen here too. And I do that by volunteering with local groups. I love doing that. Getting to know so many people that way too. Yeah.
If I were to interview you for Quintin's Close-Ups 5 years from now, and I'm looking at the newspaper here, what would the headline be about Lisa Weismann? Cheesy question.
We just talked about how old we were now, and so add another 5 years. Quintin, I don't know.
I hope I stole it like this. I don't know.
What would I be known as a journalist? Would I be known as a mom? Or a wife? I don't know. That's exciting to think about, though. Or even a teacher. I've always had those aspirations too, to kind of like pass along what I've learned here in my more than a decade of being a reporter. Geez, that remains to be seen. I'll have to get back to you on that, but I hope to expand my title, and not just be a reporter and a journalist.
Journalist.
Yeah. What about you?
Still doing Quintin's close-ups.
Yeah.
That's about it. But 10 years in the journalism game.
Mm-hmm.
How has journalism changed you as a person?
Man, you have great questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very introspective.
Thank you.
I think I've become more observant, quieter as a person. I like to listen to people a lot more. I think that has like indelibly changed me too. Just to become a very observant person who likes to hear other people's, and not necessarily people that I agree with or innately have the same life path or the same past experiences growing up, or the same ethnicity. I think that has definitely changed me too.
That is so amazing. Really, really good.
Well, I'm sure. Is it the same for you though?
Oh, I'm supposed to ask the question. Well, let me ask you this. With social media and radio now, what do you expect journalism to be like in 10 years in your mind?
Oh, I think more internet-based for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of the stories, like what we refer to as packages.
Sure.
Now the timeline seems to be a minute and a half for one to be on our newscast,
Right.
but I can see those being shortened. People's attention spans get shorter too. Something to be said for Instagram as well. I think that's an untapped market, although I'm not the best at it. I'm not even good at it. Really.
I was looking for your Instagram story earlier, and I'm like, I can't find it.
Quintin. I know. I don't really update it a whole lot. I know. Well, in my defense, I feel like there's so many things that you have to keep track of nowadays. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook Lives here. There's the newscasts and writing for the news too, and following up and making calls. So, and there's a lot to do.
Lots to do. How do you write for the news these days? A lot of people write for the air. How do you do it?
That's one of my favorite things to do. First of all, I love to write. That was my big passion growing up, and that's how I knew that I wanted to be a journalist. Actually, a newspaper reporter. That's what I wanted to be growing up. Even through school, I still wanted to do that. So writing is my first love. Sometimes that means writing for the shows, or sometimes for our website too. And it's a talent to be able to write for Facebook or for Instagram as well. That's probably why I steer clear of it.
I understand that.
It's hard, those captions.
Oh, yes. Captions. Yeah, exactly right. Well, Lisa Weismann, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. Always happy to talk to you, make time for you,
Oh, thank you greatly. I'll be right here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.